This live broadcast, which is brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit, PBU, in conjunction with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. My name is Edward Kabasa. Enjoy your viewing.
Na tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umeteua nyadhifa za viongozi na utawala kwa wabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu, twakusihi ututazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao umerithika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Twakuomba ututeremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na utujalie tuyatende na kuyafikiria mambo yote atakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amina.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Nabulindo Peter Oscar.
Can we get escorting party? Please make your way in.
Honorable Speaker, it is my greatest pleasure and honor to introduce to you the Member of Parliament-elect for Matungu constituency, Honorable Nabulindo Peter Oscar. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, are you Christian, Muslim, Quaker, or atheist?
I am Christian, Mr. Speaker, sir.
English or Swahili?
English.
Just a minute.
Can I remove my mask? Yeah, go ahead. I, Nabulindo Peter Oscar, having been elected a member of the National Assembly, do swear in the name of the Almighty God that I'll bear true faith and allegiance to the people and the Republic of Kenya, that I'll obey, respect, uphold, preserve, protect, and defend this Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, and that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge the duties of a member of Parliament. So help me God.
Congratulations, Honorable Nabulindo.
Thank you, sir.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honourable members, you may continue to congratulate the newly elected member for Matungu, but do it. Don't teach him bad manners. Members, take your seats. Honorable members, I wish to introduce to you a delegation from the Malawi Defense Forces seated at the Speaker's Gallery. The delegation comprises of the following. 1, Lieutenant General Dr. Paul Valentino Firi, Deputy Commander of the Malawi Defense Forces. 2, Major General Siphon Kalisha, Chief of Operations and Training. 3, Brigadier Dan Kuwali, Chief of Legal Services. And 4, Brigadier Luke Yetala, Commandant Defense Staff College. The delegation is accompanied by Mr. Bernard Omondi from the Department of Defense in Kenya. The delegation is in the country on a visit to the Kenya Defense Forces, specifically to share experiences on various aspects of mutual interest and defense cooperation. They are in Parliament at the invitation of some members of the Defense and Foreign Relations Committee. On my own behalf and that of the House, I wish to welcome them to the National Assembly and wish them fruitful engagements during their stay in the country. I thank you. Next.
Order number 3, messages.
Honourable members, as you are aware, Standing Order number 41, subsection 4 of the National Assembly Standing Orders requires the Speaker to report to the House any message received from the Senate. In this regard, I wish to report that I have received a message from the Senate regarding its approval of the mediated version of the Early Childhood Education Bill Senate Bill number 26 of 2018. Honourable members, the message conveys that the Senate, by a resolution made on 2nd March 2021, approved the mediated version of the bill. You will also recall that this House approved the mediated version of the said bill on 4th of March 2021, thereby concluding the bicameral consideration of the bill. It therefore follows that, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 113, Clause 3 of the Constitution, I will present the bill to His Excellency the President for assent. The House is that accordingly informed. I thank you.
Order number 4, petitions.
Honourable members, starting on number 225, subsection 2, paragraph B of this, requires the Speaker to report to the House any petition other than those presented by a member. Further, Article 119 of the Constitution provides for the right of any person to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority, including petitioning the House to enact, amend, or repeal any legislation. In this regard, honourable members, I wish to report to the House that my office has received a petition from several residents identifying themselves as small-scale farmers, led by one Mr. David Caleb Otieno of Post Office Box number 2160, Nairobi, calling for, in brackets, the repudiation of the entire national debt and its diversion to social service provision, close the quote. In their petition, honourable members, the petitioners have vowed that the country's total debt has reached unsustainable levels, propelled by, among other reasons, recent pressure from the International Monetary Fund, urging the government to include parastatus and county loans as part of the national debt. The petitioners approximate that the total debt will exceed 12 trillion shillings by June 2022 and decry the conditions and policy restrictions such as retrenchments, increased taxation, and liberalization that are normally attached to external loans and credit facilities. Further, honourable members, the petitioners are convinced that accumulation of debt drastically reduces public and social spending, thereby hampering the government's efforts of meeting its constitutional obligations such as healthcare, education, water and sanitation, and housing. Subsequently, the petitioners seek the intervention of this House in securing the repudiation of all national debt which they describe as illegal, illegitimate, unsustainable, and odious, and call for diversion of the money thereof towards provision of social services. Honourable members, having determined that the matters raised by the petitioners are well within the authority of this House, I order that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 227, subsection 1, the petition be committed to the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. The committee is requested to consider the petition and report its findings to the House and to the petitioners in accordance with Standing Order 227, subsection 2. I thank you, honourable members. Next.
Order number 5, papers.
Leader of the Majority Party.
Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Thursday, 11th of March, 2021, in the afternoon sitting. Number 1, the 21st biannual report of the Monetary Policy Committee for the October 2018 from the Central Bank of Kenya. Number 2, the 22nd biannual report of the Monetary Policy Committee for the period April 2019 from the Central Bank of Kenya. Number 3, the 23rd biannual report of the Monetary Policy Committee for the period October 2019 from the Central Bank of Kenya. Number 4, the Monetary Policy Statement for the periods 30th June 2018, June 2019, and December 2019 from the Central Bank of Kenya. And number 5, the Kenya Yearbook Editorial Board on Food Security, in brackets, how technology and innovation are creating efficiencies and jobs on today's farm, closing bracket, in partnership with the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Irrigation. Number 6, the annual report on financial statements of Kenya Forestry Research Institute for the years ended 30th of June 2014, 30th of June 2015, 30th of June 2016, 30th of June 2017, and 30th of June 2018. Number 7, report from the Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis as follows. A, informal sector's response to shock, lessons from Kenya for the year 2019. Number B, the effects of household environmental characteristics on child health in Kenya for the year 2017. Number C, determinants of informality in the informal sector for the year 2019. Number D, the determinants of technical efficiency in secondary schools in Kenya for the year 2017. Number E, towards revitalizing Kenya's skins, hides, and leather industry for the year 2019. Number F, factors that determine choice of product market for businesses in the informal sector in Kenya for the year 2019. Number G, the effects of business environment on productivity of informal manufacturing enterprises in Kenya for the year 2019. Number H, gender productivity gap in the Kenya informal enterprises for the year 2019. Number I, technology acquisition and innovations in Kenya's informal sector. Number J, assessment of institutional structure governing the informal sector in Kenya. Number K, the status of access to agri-finance by youth and women in Kenya for the year 2019. L, women's access to agricultural finance in Kenya, baseline report 2019. And M, Kenya's economic report 2019. And lastly, number 8, the reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect to the following institutions for the year ended 30th of June 2019 and the certificates therein. One is the Assets Recovery Agency, and second, Kirinyaga University. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The chairperson, Departmental Committee on Health, but report to be tabled by a member, Honorable Walter Owino Peters. Member von Liwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Martin Peters Owino. Honorable Speaker, thank you. I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, March 11, 2021, afternoon sitting. A report on the Departmental Committee on Health on its consideration of the Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill, National Bill number 34 of 2019. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It must be National Assembly Bill, eh? Is it not National Bill?
National Assembly Bill, Mr. Speaker.
Exact.
Thank you for the correction.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Danita Gatti. You don't appear to have a card.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That aware that according to the World Health Organization, an estimated 15% of the world's population live with some form of disability or different ability, with 80% of them living in developing countries. Further aware that in Kenya, approximately 6.5 million people live with some form of disability, out of whom nearly 3.8 million are women and girls, while approximately 85% of the total number live in abject poverty. Concerned that a majority of persons with disabilities face numerous challenges, including being denied their fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right to education and opportunities to work, virtually guaranteeing that they will live their lives in poverty, which often exacerbates their vulnerabilities and dependency on other people, assistive devices, and critical medical items and requirements. Deeply concerned that lack of these devices, medical items, and requirements makes it impossible for persons with disabilities to live normal and dignified lives, this House urges the national government to provide assistive devices and required medical items and requirements free of charge to persons with disabilities at the constituency level through government hospitals or any other government body, and to put in place mechanisms for replacement of worn-out devices to enable persons with disabilities live a dignified life, be more productive, and to coexist with other members of the society. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well, next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Ordinary questions. Question number 092, member for Homa Bay Town, Honorable Peter Kaluma.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to be allowed to ask this question to the Cabinet Secretary falling under the charge of the committee in which I serve as member, because I've been pursuing this matter, but being a member of the committee, sometimes it is thought I'm abusing my office as member to pursue it. So on this, Honorable Speaker, allow me to raise this question to the Cabinet Secretary in my representative role as a member of Parliament for Homa Bay Town constituency. Honorable Speaker, I stand to ask question number 092 of 2021 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government. 1. What steps is the Cabinet Secretary taking to designate, to degazette the sub-counties that were created contrary to paragraph 17 of the 6th schedule to the Constitution as read together with section 48, subsection 1B of the County Governments Act? 2. What is the status of operationalization of newly created administrative and service delivery coordination units in Homa Bay Town constituency, namely Asego East Division, Kanyango Location, Simenya Sub-Location, Kanyabala Central Sub-Location, Kanyach Kachar North Sub-Location, Kubula Kogwang South Sub-Location, and Kothida South Sub-Locations established through legal notice number 5853 of 21st June 2017. Number 3, what steps has the ministry taken to ensure that the administrative units specified in legal notice number 5853 of 21st June 2017 are operationalized, including substantively appointing and or posting requisite personnel so as to ensure efficient service delivery and provision of security in the constituencies? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well, there's no conflict, Honorable Kaluma, so the question will still be responded to before your committee. The next question is by the member for Nakuru Town East, Honorable David Ikaria, who requested that the question be asked on his behalf by the Honorable Martin Peter. Is it? No. Who is it? Walter Owino, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I arise to ask question number 093 of 2021 on behalf of Honorable Daudi Gikaria, MP Nakuru Town East. The question is directed to the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Education. Question number 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain why the presidential directive to all secondary school heads to release KCSE certificates and seek for compensation of fees arrears from the Ministry of Education is being disregarded by many school heads? Question number 2. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the circumstances under which Moi Secondary School in Nakuru Town denied Master Stephen Muta, a former student, his Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education certificate in 2018. Question number 3. What steps is the ministry taking to ensure that all school heads comply with the said presidential directive and ensure that Master Stephen Mutua is issued with the KCSE certificate? And question number 5, what action is being taken against school principals and headmasters who continue to defy the said President's directive? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Education and Research. Next question by the member. Oh, the Honorable Water Winner is your question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise again to ask question number 096 of 2021. The question is directed to the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Energy. Question number 1, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the plans the ministry has put in place, if any, to connect the more than 2.4 million households across the country to electricity at a subsidized cost, as envisaged under the Achieving Universal Electricity Access Program and the expected timeline? Question number 2, could the Cabinet Secretary state sources and forms of energy the ministry intends to use and the expected total megawatts required to achieve universal electricity access, indicating how many megawatts each form will produce and how it will be connected to the national grid? Question number 3, could the Cabinet Secretary explain how all rural-based households in Awendo constituency and Migori County will benefit from the program and provide the number of households expected to gain from the program in the said constituency and county? And question number 5, could the Cabinet Secretary further explain whether there is any difference between the Universal Electricity Access Program and the Last Mile Connectivity Program, and state how much has been spent on Last Mile Connectivity Program, considering that it has been under implementation for the last 8 years across the country? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, that will be replied to before the committee chaired by the gentleman on whose behalf you asked the question. There's the Committee on Energy. Next question by the member for Chuka Igambangombe, Honorable Patrick Munene.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 97 of 2021, and I elect into the Cabinet Secretary for Defense. Question number 1, could the Cabinet Secretary explain why Igambangombe Sub-County was left out during the recent completed Kenya Defense Forces recruitment, despite having been granted identification code number 1301 during the 2019 Kenya Population and Housing Census? Question number 2, could the Cabinet Secretary state how many persons were recruited in the Kenya Defense Forces, how the recruitment slots were distributed across all the sub-counties, and the criteria used in distributing the slots in the just concluded KDF recruitment exercise in the country? Question number 3, could the Cabinet Secretary state how many persons were recruited in the Kenya Defense Forces in Tharaka Nithi County, and specifically from the 15 ones during the February 2021 recruitment exercise? And finally, question number 4, could the Cabinet Secretary consider carrying out, can the Ministry consider carrying out fresh recruitment of the youth in the KDF from the Igambangombe Sub-County, considering that the exercise was not done? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Defense and Foreign Relations. Last question by the member for Teso South, Honorable Geoffrey Omuse. Just press your intervention button.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask question number 099 of 2021 to the Cabinet Secretary for Energy. 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary outline the implementation status report of the Last Mile Connectivity Program in Teso South constituency? 2. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide details including locations of all electrification projects undertaken by the Rural Electrification Authority in brackets REA in Teso South constituency since 2014? 3. What plans does the ministry have to ensure that all stalled projects undertaken by REA in Teso South constituency that have since been surveyed, approved, and awaiting implementations are completed? The last one, which projects are planned by REA in Teso South constituency in the current financial year? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Question to be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Energy. If you want to rise on a point of order, please press your intervention button. Don't shout. I can only see an intervention by the Honorable Lento Imaga. What is your intervention?
Mr. Speaker, I don't have any issue now. I was waiting for another matter that will come later.
Honorable Mwinyi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in your wisdom, I would actually request you Mr. Speaker, sir, in your wisdom, I would request you to allow members to ventilate on the issue of the recruitment drive, because it has elicited a lot of interest among very many members about KDF and the police recruitment. If you may allow, even if it is 10 minutes for people to ventilate, it will be appreciated, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
I've shut you out because you know how best to do this. If you want the members to rise, there are various avenues available, either statement hour or move a motion for the House to rise to discuss the matter. Now, merely because somebody has asked a question, you know, this is not the other House where people discuss anything at any time they wish. Here, I mean, surely there must be order, and we must follow our procedures. Honorable Mwenyi, as a ranking member, surely you ought to know this. Please, and you can actually put in a request to, for that matter, because I know, as you said, there may be, and I've seen some other questions of similar nature. So, do the best thing is do a motion. It's a matter that can be qualified to be of national importance. Yeah. Now, honourable members, allow me also to interrupt the proceedings at this point, so we're on order number 7, to recognize 2 members of staff from the Parliament of Sierra Leone seated in the Speaker's Gallery. They are Mr. Ibrahim Jimisas, who is the Director of Parliamentary Budget Office, and Ms. Fatmata Magaze, who is a budget analyst. The officers are on attachment in the National Assembly of Kenya to share experiences with their counterparts on the process of budget making and approval by Parliament. And on my own behalf and that of the House, I wish to welcome them to the National Assembly and wish them fruitful engagements with their counterparts in the Parliamentary Budget Office during their stay in the country. I thank you. The next segment is statements. There is an indication that the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Health was to respond to a statement requested by the member for for Igembe South, the Honorable John Paul Mwirigi, regarding the high number of cancer cases in Igembe South constituency, but the member has since requested that the response be deferred to some future date. And I think I saw him consult the member of Ondiwa. Is that correct, Honorable Owino? You've agreed. Very well. So we go to the next request. This is a response by the chairperson, Departmental Committee on Transport. Where's the request? sorry, they're here. The request for statements is the first one is by the Deputy Speaker. Member for Kuresoi North.
Yes, I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 44.2c, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security regarding facilitation of village elders, also known as Wazemta, in the country. Honorable Speaker, village elders play an integral role in functioning of the national government and even county governments at the village level by assisting chiefs and assistant chiefs in facilitating national government services, including promotion of education, handling of security issues, solving disputes, promoting development initiatives and social services in their villages through the Nyumba Kumi initiative. It is disheartening that these elders discharge these important duties without any facilitation by government or even acknowledging the need to appreciate and motivate these elders for their services, for the services rendered. Honorable Speaker, despite great sacrifices by the village elders make while providing these services, majority of them are suffering since they do not have alternative source of income. It is against this background that I seek a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security on the following. 1, could the Chairperson provide details of the number of village elders engaged per constituency in the country? 2, could the Chairperson provide details on the terms of service and the remuneration policy for village elders in Kenya? And 3, what measures the ministry has put in place to ensure that village elders are adequately facilitated while undertaking these noble duties? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairperson, it's an indication that the chairperson is not present, but the vice chair was busy, so she has not even heard anything, I'm sure. Can you respond?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I've had within 2 weeks.
You've had?
Yes. And earlier on we even discussed with the Deputy Speaker, so I'm in the picture.
So
yeah.
You are going to be in the picture as well as in the photograph. Very well. Deputy Speaker, it will be responded to in 2 weeks. The next request is by the member for Awendo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a request for statement regarding mandatory requirement for procurement of security services by public and private institutions in the country. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 44 in bracket 2C, I seek to request a statement from the Chairperson Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security regarding mandatory requirement for procurement of security services by public and private institutions in the country. Honorable Speaker, firms seeking to undertake procurement of security services for various institutions in public and private sector in the country are faced with a myriad of challenges, among them specific requirements which should be obtained from an accredited institution authorized by Kenya Private Security Regulatory Authority. In absence of a prescription on the accredited institutions, the various certificates required to be obtained or authenticated by the said institutions are not available. Honorable Speaker, the House nullified the proposed private security regulations on 19th November 2019, thereby rendering the operationalization of the Act incomplete. This therefore implies that there are no requirements for procurement of security services based on any regulations. Honorable Speaker, it is in this background that I seek a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security on the following. 1, could the Chairperson provide a list of security sector accredited institutions that are required to issue the requisite procurement certifications with the details of their approved training curriculum? Question 2, could the Chairperson further state the number of security training certificates so far issued to security firms in the country and the duration it takes for one to be issued with certifications from the date of application. Question number 3, could the chairperson clarify what has been guiding the guiding framework for issuance of certificates in absence of the regulations? Question number 5, what measures has the ministry put in place to ensure that private security firms that have not been able to acquire the said certifications for their directors and their employees due to inordinate delays occasioned by the Kenya Private Security Regulatory Authority are not disenfranchised in terms of participation in public tenders that require the said certificates? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Vice Chair, again.
Mr. Speaker, we'll need 2 weeks to respond here. Thanks.
I think even as you respond, I think it's important to bear in mind the point that was raised by the member in the request, that this House, in its wisdom, annulled the proposed regulations. That did not in itself mean that the regulation-making authority under the Act could not come up with others. And the House has encouraged all government agencies to propose regulations and first of all share with the committee, so that as to avoid them falling into pitfalls. Many of them don't appear to have legally qualified people to even draft letters. So they find they are coming up with regulations that cannot even be passed by people in the Gikomba market. So I think it's important that the regulation-making body also is requesting to try and come up with fresh regulations, because I know they will know they need to implement the Act, and the regulations are the avenue through which the Act would be properly implemented or operationalized. The next is a response by the Chairperson, Transport, Public Works and Housing to various requests. Honorable Kosing.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I want to respond on 3 statements. And from the onset, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that was responded yesterday. But let me just summarize for the purpose of the House, before the Honorable Members and the Minister. Honorable Speaker, first statement was from Honorable Oudo Funyula 1. He brought a statement, Honorable Speaker, on border point and the road. That statement was responded, Honorable Speaker, satisfactorily. What happened was we intervened as a committee because Honorable Oudo wanted a road, but he wanted, first of all, that a border point to be gazetted. When we saw that that is not within the precinct of the committee, because that is administration, we had to address to the people of Funyula to get a road, which the Minister, Honorable Speaker, took commitment. And it was very good, Honorable Speaker. Number 2, a statement was from a ranking member of the House, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Dwale, about some roads in Northeastern. The Minister responded yesterday, Honorable Dwale has a statement, and he is satisfied, Honorable Speaker. Finally, Honorable Moroni MP, Honorable Koyo, had also a statement, Honorable Speaker, which I want, by extension, to seek your direction. Because, Honorable Speaker, the question came, and it was about demolition by Kenya Railway. It was going, or it went, Honorable Speaker, the question went to administration, and according to what I got, Honorable Speaker, is that the Office of the Clerk referred to my committee. So when Honorable Koyo appeared, and I want him to speak, Honorable Speaker, when he appeared before my committee, he was of the opinion, Honorable Speaker, that, supported by Honorable Alago Luoch, that you made a ruling, Honorable Speaker, that that statement should be responded by 3 ministers. 1, Minister for Transport, another one, National Security, another one, Lands. So when he appeared before my committee, Honorable Speaker, he requested my committee not to prosecute the matter because you had made a ruling which, Honorable Speaker, I didn't have officially from the Office of the Clerk to my committee. So what happened, Honorable Speaker? We penned that statement. I asked the Office of the Clerk, Honorable Speaker, to furnish the committee with your ruling so that I'm guided properly, Honorable Speaker. Otherwise, the 2 questions were responded, statements were responded, Honorable Speaker, perfectly. I'm waiting for one, your direction on the Kenya Railway, whether you require the 3 ministries to appear, and if they are appearing, Honorable Speaker, which committee are they appearing? Is it the leader majority, or is it me transport, or administration? But, Honorable Speaker, as you rule in this House, that members must be satisfied, the people who raise questions and statements. I felt that I agreed with the Honorable Koyo that we get further ruling from you so that the Honorable Member and his people are satisfied. Otherwise, those responses, Honorable Speaker, are done properly according to the proceedings of the House. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well, I think, as you rightly say, the clerk will furnish you with the earlier ruling so that you can then raise whatever other issues. Of course, as you know, it's only 16 minutes past 3. The member of Muhoroni normally comes at about 4:35. So he must be still either in Muhoroni or somewhere on the road coming. I know the Honorable James Koyo usually will not be here this early. Honorable Udo, it has been said that you are satisfied. You managed to get a road for your constituents.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yes, I appeared before the committee and with the members of the executive. We had a discussion. They made some undertakings. I just hope and pray they live to their word, and I hope it was not just empty promises. But I got an assurance from the chair of the committee that you will assist in following up in resolving the matter at hand. On the issue of the gazettement of the border point, we were aptly directed where to seek clarification, and that we will seek shortly in the course of some weeks to come. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Only to observe that where executives or functionaries from the executive make undertakings before committees, in order for those committees, for those undertakings to be followed up by our implementation committee, there is need for a report to be made to the House so that it is adopted by the House and becomes a resolution of the House capable of enforcement. That's the best route. Honorable Duale.
Mr. Speaker, without having no hope or prayer, the answer I was given is very satisfactory, and I am very, very happy with the Minister Macharia and his team and the chair, and I hope, Mr. Speaker, going forward, you'll ask some of the chairs, and I also want to thank the clerk's office, because they've sent me the answer in advance. I read it, and I spoke to the chair and said I have no business appearing before the minister because this answer is so. In a situation where if we get the answer early, sometimes Parliament can give us a written answer. And if you are satisfied, then that's good. But I want to thank the committee and the ministry.
Very well. Member for Moyale, I see you have pressed your intervention button. Wario?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I did ask for a statement on 11th of last month, and I remember even on Tuesday I raised. It's exactly now 1 month. And you remember, Mr. Speaker, the urgency that issue had. And the information I'm getting at the moment is that there's a reply and the chairman is not even satisfied with that answer. And I've not gotten any answer to date, Mr. Speaker.
What? Why not? Is it Honorable Fatuma Gedi? Yes. Maybe you can respond to him.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have the response from the ministry ready, but as a committee, we needed more information. We thought the answers that we have is not sufficient enough to bring to the House, so we've asked the ministry to provide with us more detailed response. But in the meantime, Mr. Speaker, I said we have the statement ready with us, but as a committee, we thought there's more information that we needed. and they were not providing. So we've asked the ministry to give us more detailed response. But in the meantime, I've discussed with Honorable Kalicha. There is some administrative issues that we commit as a committee to help the situation as we wait for the response. Anyway, thank you.
Is it possible we can also encourage some similar way of doing things like the Honorable Kosing does his? Some of these things which could be complex in nature. It is best that the cabinet secretaries themselves appear in person, and then you invite the member who is seeking the statement, so that if there are issues that need to be, because we don't want this thing of the member saying this and you are saying you are going to find, then you come and what you will find, you come and say the member says this even worse, then you go and find not satisfactory. It will be ping pong. Is it possible that you, Honorable Fatuma, you could consider, if that matter is still appears to be complex, that you can invite the cabinet secretary or whoever it is that is responsible for the issues to appear before your committee, respond directly, and the Honorable Gufu is also present to raise any supplementary questions that he may wish to raise. I think it may be an easier way so that you don't carry all the burden yourself.
Agreed, Mr. Speaker. We'll be guided by that.
So you can even schedule a meeting even for next week so that the Honorable Gufu can also appear.
Okay.
Yeah, Honorable Gufu, will you be, if you are invited, also be available?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think what I'm seeing is lack of some seriousness.
I'm asking you, are you going to be available now? It's no point now saying you are seeing some. Where are you seeing that lack of seriousness?
Yeah,
I'm suggesting an easier way so that you stop seeing things.
I'll be available anytime, Mr. Speaker. Anytime they are ready, I'll be available. But what I'm saying is that, Mr. Speaker, the schools are closed. And even the idea of even giving me that reply from the cabinet secretary is not there.
You have not gotten that unsatisfactory reply. So you're going to be given that one.
Yeah, it could have been better if...
Give him that one which you thought is unsatisfactory. Perhaps it will be, you'll be satisfied. Maybe you, as a committee, you may have thought it was unsatisfactory. Maybe he wants to have that one. Give him. You have it.
I give him now because
you have it.
I have it, but as a committee, Mr. Speaker, I said we told the ministry.
But you see, he says.
But I have it here if he wants. But
he says no. Actually, those statements should be given through the clerk's office, as the Honorable Dwele just said earlier on, so that the member who has raised the issue is able to read through. If there are any issues that he wishes to raise or she wishes to raise, then they raise. But if you keep it to yourself and he doesn't have it, so he has a right to complain. But this Ministry of Interior, what is wrong with it?
Mr. Speaker, I will give him the copy, but I discussed with him before I came to the chamber.
But you see, he's saying he hasn't been given.
I discussed with him. I even offered the issues of administratively. We finish that one as we wait for
Just give him the statement.
But I'll give him the copy.
Give him the copy of the statement, then they can raise the other issues.
Okay, thank you.
Honorable Wario, you'll get the statement. Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'll get the statement, the reply, but I still I'll be happy, as you have earlier suggested, if the cabinet secretary will appear and I raise my issues as required. Thank you.
But you see, you have not seen the statement. Just see it, so that you will see whether you are satisfied. I see other interventions. Honorable Mboya Nyatike.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My question of last year on...
Questions of last year died with the session.
I just want you to pick the concern I have. because
But if you start by saying a question of last year.
it was cleverly killed, Honorable Speaker.
No, not cleverly. Unless you have not read the standing orders yourself.
You know why I'm saying it was
The
clever?
standing orders are very clever.
Okay, Honorable
Or
Speaker.
cleverly done.
I was invited twice, and for the two occasions, nobody represented the ministry. Nobody represented the ministry twice.
Discussing about a question of last year.
I just wanted to register my dissatisfaction.
No, don't register. There's no place to register about last year. A question.
Okay, I'll raise it again, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Just go and revive it. That's what we agreed. Honorable Boya, just revive it so that now you give it feet on which to stand.
I will, Honorable Speaker, but the committees would show some commitment. It's very frustrating to appear before the committee twice without the ministry representation. Thank you.
I don't know members, I think also we must be always alive to the very immense powers that you have. That if you appear and somebody who has been invited to appear before a committee doesn't appear, you can come and raise the matter here. And this House, you can even move an appropriate motion for the House to deal with whoever it is. But now you need to keep complaining, and you are the people you have all the power to deal with these people. But when you come, you want to go to them, you go and they have tea there, then you come here to say, oh, they didn't appear. You have the power to, if they don't appear, and we want to deal with it, just honor members. If people are not appearing before committees when they have been invited to appear without giving reasons, satisfactory reasons, please, members, raise those issues here. But not raise by way of complaint. Do the usual thing, that is, which will move the House. Because there will be particulars, that the person was invited to come on a particular day, the person failed to appear, he was without giving any reasons, and the House will deal with the person. Please, don't complain, don't overcomplicate. What is your intervention about?
Mr. Speaker, I sympathize with my colleague, Honorable Khalicha here. It seems, Mr. Speaker, that
have you raised on a point of order to sympathize or to express sympathy? We don't have a motion on sympathy.
Mr. Speaker, it's a frustration that we are facing, and I've heard what you've said, Mr. Speaker. That it looks, Mr. Speaker, that the Cabinet Secretary for Interior has become very notorious in terms of ignoring members of this Parliament. And, Mr. Speaker, that time is coming that we shall exercise our power as this House. But it looks like even the committee itself has gone to bed with the Cabinet Secretary. The kind of answers we get from this committee, Mr. Speaker, looks like the committee is in itself even compromised by that ministry. Because, Mr. Speaker, you even remember the issues I've been raising. We're now going on recess for the next 10 days. Until April is when that minister wants to appear before the committee, as they continue doing very bad things to the people. I think some members here have lied to the Cabinet Secretary that is some sort of a presidential material. I do not know he wants to be president of which country. Because it is unfortunate what that Cabinet Secretary is treating this House with a lot of contempt. And he must be called out. That time is coming very soon.
You see, that's why I told you, please don't just complain. I cannot respond on about Kamket. And of course, also, if a committee is not working, again, one of members, you have what it takes to deal with the committee as well. Honorable Limo.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I want to add to the issues which have been raised, Mr. Speaker, about the cabinet secretaries taking this House seriously, Mr. Speaker. I want to repeat what the other honourable member was just spoken said, Mr. Speaker. You know, Mr. Speaker, it is now time that we remind this House again that this House has all the power equivalent to that of the judiciary, Mr. Speaker, to take action on those cabinet secretaries who do not take this House seriously. We have had a situation, Mr. Speaker, where some members are even made to believe that we are actually playing a second fiddle to the executive, Mr. Speaker. This is an independent House, and we have clear roles we play in this House. One of the roles, Mr. Speaker, is actually to check on the excesses of the executive, Mr. Speaker. And most of the cabinet secretaries now even do not take, other than the committee, attending the committee, Mr. Speaker, you find some members going to the offices of those officers, and they are taken for a ride, Mr. Speaker. They are just left there because they are not taking this House seriously. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge that this House, we must rise. Mr. Speaker, we have even seen letters being sent to this House, Mr. Speaker, to the extent that the cabinet secretaries can break the law, Mr. Speaker, and say, for instance, that once money has not been released by the same cabinet secretaries to funds which are influenced by law, like CDF, Mr. Speaker, they have guts to write to us that money will not be provided. And we are forgetting that this is a budget-making House, Mr. Speaker. We have the right to put any amount of money we need, and we have to rise to the occasion, Mr. Speaker, and ensure that if there is no provision for CDF as provided by the law, we must ensure we protect the people of our constituencies, Mr. Speaker. We cannot play with the people of our constituencies. You remember, Mr. Speaker, as we are even before, without anticipating debate, Mr. Speaker, as we debate the division of revenue bill, Mr. Speaker, we must take into account the fact that the most successful devolved fund, Mr. Speaker, is CDF. And we must rise to the occasion and defend that in this House. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to end by saying this. As we wait to debate supplementary budget, Mr. Speaker, we want to send a message to the budget committee. If you bring supplementary without full provision of CDF to this House, Mr. Speaker, count it as done, as dead on arrival, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, Honorable Limo, you have taken advantage of the provision of standing order to debate something which is not on the floor. Now, I hope the member for Nyali will not also do the same with this intervention. Please, if you don't engage in a debate.
Shukran sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Ningetaka kusema bunge hili ni bunge la heshima. Ni mahala ambapo sheria inaundwa, sheria ya taifa. Na ukiona wabunge wanazungumza kwa hamasa na hasira, ni kwa sababu hili bunge limeanza kudharauliwa na baadhi ya mawaziri katika serikali. Nimesikia wabunge wakizungumza na kusema ya kwamba kila mara wanapoleta masuala yao mbele ya wizara, wao hawasikizwi. Ni kwa sababu tunadharauliwa. Wizara mbili zinazo matatizo sana ni wizara ya usalama wa ndani na wizara ya uchukuzi. Jana nimemsikia waziri wa usalama wa ndani Bwana Fred Matiang'i akisema ya kwamba mahakama ni sharti ifanye vile ambavyo wanataka. Huyu Matiang'i yeye binafsi amekataa kuheshimu sheria za hii nchi.
But you cannot discuss
Mheshimiwa Speaker,
you must move a substantive motion, please.
Mheshimiwa Speaker.
No. You know, Honorable Mohammed Ali, it's against the standing orders of the House. If you have anything against any state officer, please bring a substantive motion here. Now, because the officer has no opportunity to defend himself here. Now, if you tell me that you had him speaking in some village somewhere, how do I get to know what is happening in all the villages in Kenya? Honorable Mohammed Ali, please, just if unless there's something specific you want to raise. You finish, but be specific.
Mheshimiwa Spika, kauli mbiu ya mimi kuzungumza ni kusema ya kwamba bunge hili, bunge la 12, limedharauliwa sana kiasi cha kwamba hata sheria zikiundwa ndani ya bunge hili hazifuatiliwi wala hazitekelezwi. Mheshimiwa Spika, tunaloliuliza ni kwamba iwapo mbunge yoyote ataweza kuuliza maswali yake kuhusiana na eneo lake ama swala lolote linalohusu nchi hii, ni sharti hawa mawaziri waheshimu jumba hili. Shukrani sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
You are absolutely right. But when that doesn't happen, as I advised earlier, Honorable Ali, when that doesn't happen, the House has recourse. It has power and authority given by the Constitution and in the standing orders. So please, when that happens, please just feel free to bring those appropriate motions. Leader Majority.
Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 44, subsection 2A, I rise to give the following statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, which met on Tuesday, 9th of March, 2021, to prioritize business for consideration. Honorable Speaker, as members are aware, the House is scheduled to proceed on a short recess commencing tomorrow, in accordance with the resolution of the House on Tuesday, 9th of March, 2021, amending the 2021 calendar. In this regard, the House Business Committee has not scheduled any business for next week. However, upon resumption from recess on Tuesday, the 23rd of March, 2021, the following business will be prioritized at both the afternoon and evening sittings. Number one will be the Committee of the Whole House on the following bills: the referendum number 2 bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2020, the National Aviation Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 18 of 2020. Number 2, the second reading of the following bills, if we do not conclude with them today. Number 1, the Kenya National Blood Transfusion Service Bill of 2020. Number 2, the County Government's Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 13 of 2018. Number 3, the National Cohesion and Peace Building Bill, Senate Bill number 35 of 2018. The Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Amendment Bill of 2020. The Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill number 3 Bill of 2019. The County Statutory Instruments Bill, Senate Bill number 21 of 2018. The Impeachment Procedure Bill, Senate Bill number 15 of 2018. And lastly, the County Law Compliance and Enforcement Bill, Senate Bill number 25 of 2018. We'd also look at number 3 will be the second reading of the Business Laws Amendment, number 2 Bill of 2020, and consideration of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the first supplementary estimates for the financial year 2020-2021. Then 5, the consideration of the following reports, should we not conclude with them today. And 1 will be the report of the Committee on Parliamentary Broadcasting and Library on the formulation of parliamentary broadcasting channels. And 2, report of the Committee on the implementation status of a petition regarding working conditions at Kwale International Sugar Company Limited. We shall also prioritize consideration of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill number 2020, popularly known as the BBI Bill, within the course of that week. We anticipate the report of the Joint Committee on the bill being tabled on March 23rd, 2021. Thereafter, the bill shall be considered as second reading, Committee of the Whole House, and third reading. Honorable Speaker, in accordance with the provisions of Standing Order number 42A, 5, and 6, I wish to convey that the following Cabinet Secretaries are scheduled to appear before the departmental committees as follows, and I hope the affected members are paying attention. The Cabinet Secretary for Energy will appear before the Departmental Committee on Energy on Tuesday, 16th of March, 2021, to answer question number 27 of 2021 from the Honorable Gitonga Murugara on the status of electrification of public schools in Tharaka constituency. Number 2, the Cabinet Secretary for Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development will appear before the Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives on Thursday, 18th of March 2021 to answer the question by the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah MP. The Cabinet Secretary for Environment will appear before the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources on Tuesday, 16th March 2021 to answer question number 1 of 2021 by the Honorable Godfrey Osotsi on the degazettement of the Shiro and Shaviringa settlement schemes in Kakamega Forest. Number 4, the Cabinet Secretary for Defense will appear before the Departmental Committee on Defense and Foreign Relations on Tuesday, 23rd of March 2021 to answer the question 029 of 2021 by Honorable Joshua Kimilu on the death of Major Rafael Chalo Biduka, and 2, question 058 of 2021 by the Honorable Omar Mwinyi on the recruitment of officers of KDF. Number 5, the Cabinet Secretary for Labor and Social Security will appear before the Departmental Committee on Labor and Social Service on Wednesday, the 24th of March, to answer question number 9 of 2021 by the Honorable Sosion on check-off deductions and remittances to trade unions. Number 2, the question 65 of 2021 by the Honorable Janet CTNA on non-payment of Inua Jamii dues to Ms. Dorcas Njeri Mwangi. And number 3, question 81 of 2021 by the Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba on the criteria for identification of beneficiaries generally and Kiambu County in particular. Number 6, the Cabinet Secretary for Tourism and Wildlife will appear before the Departmental Committee on Sports, Tourism and Culture on Wednesday, the 24th of March to answer question number 34 of 2021 by the Honorable John Muneno Wambugu on why Mr. Victor Nyaga Gavivi was denied admission to the Kenya Utalii College. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee will convene on Tuesday, March the 23rd of 2021 at 11 a.m. to schedule business for the coming week. I now wish to lay this statement on the table of the House. Can I have a pen?
We had left out the request for a statement by the member for Githunguri, Honorable Gabriel Kago.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Cooperatives regarding the outbreak of foot and mouth disease in the country, particularly Githunguri constituency. Honorable Speaker, as I stated in my statement request made on 2nd July 2020, the disease, which was first reported in September 2019, has claimed thousands of livestock, and to date, it is yet to be contained. Regrettably, Honorable Speaker, even with the undertaking by the Cabinet Secretary, not much has been done to eliminate or suppress the disease. As a result, Honorable Speaker, there is yet another outbreak of the disease in the country, and in particular, dairy farmers in Githunguri constituency have suffered huge losses as a result of death of their livestock. This has greatly affected the livelihood of thousands of farmers who rely on dairy farming as their main source of livelihood. Honorable Speaker, the outbreak has been confirmed amid revelations of acute shortage of vaccines against this contagious disease. In this regard, steps to contain this disease have been frustrated by the Kenya Veterinary Vaccines Production Institute, KVVAPI, the institution mandated to coordinate and take charge of all veterinary medicine production in the country for 80 lakhs vaccines, too bureaucratic, and the quality of vaccines is questionable. Honorable Speaker, in the period 2019-2020, vaccines worth Kenya shillings 5 million expired and therefore rendered unfit for use due to bureaucracy at the institute. More worse is that the regulator, KVVAPI, and Kenya Veterinary Services appear not to be working to ensure the disease are contained. This has led to the compromise on the quality of vaccines. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture, Livestock, and Cooperatives. In the statement, the chairperson should address the following. 1. What policy measures have been put in place to urgently contain the outbreak of foot and mouth disease in the country, and particularly Githunguri constituency? 2. What urgent steps are in place to ensure that KVVAPI delivers on its mandate and ensures that there is continued production and availability of quality foot and mouth disease vaccines countrywide? And lastly, Honorable Speaker, what policy measures have been instituted to address the role of the regulator with regard to vaccine production? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Chairperson, Agriculture Committee. The Chairperson is Honorable Tiren. Is he still a member of Parliament? Honorable Kanyudia, you want to respond?
But, Chair, let me take this opportunity to thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this.
What do you mean to contribute?
Chair, I would like to say that the chairman...
No. You know, please, honored members, Chair, if we continue behaving this way, we will no longer be the House of Parliament, where we don't follow our own standing orders. A request for a statement is not an opportunity for debate. I'm sure maybe you have been watching some other place where this happens, but certainly not here. Not here. No, what message? You have a message from the chairman?
Yes, he left me a message.
Okay.
In the House. Yes, Chair, the chairman has had an emergency. His mother has had an accident, so he has rushed to Eldoret. He is trying to catch up the afternoon flight. So he requested that the House gives him leave. We will respond to this issue in 2 weeks.
Yes, Honorable Kago, I can see you are almost instantaneously agitated.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, because this is a matter of urgency, it should be treated with emergency, because, Honorable Speaker,
the House is
animals are dying across
the House is going to recess. The House is going to recess later this evening. So you are suggesting that this should happen before 9 p.m.
At least a maximum of 5 days, Honorable Speaker.
5 days will it be Monday next week?
Because animals are dying, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, even human beings are dying, eh?
At least, Honorable Speaker, human beings, they are having the vaccine. Animals do not have vaccine, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Kago, now what do we do? Because the House will not be sitting within those 5 days. No, but is it that the Honorable Kago would want to get the response to just in his private capacity? Honorable Kago, what's your response?
Honorable Speaker, since this is a matter of urgency, I then request you rule that we have the statement response in 7 days then.
As soon as the House next sits, you are safer that way. But not tonight, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. sitting.
I don't want to agree to that, Honorable Speaker, because I know the magnitude.
Can we say you because the House will not be sitting tomorrow. It will not be sitting the whole of next week until 23rd. That is the motion which you passed.
Chair, I agree.
You can see, but you know, it is not that we sympathize with what you are saying, Honorable Kago. But the House is rising today proceed on a short recess up to Tuesday, 23rd of this month. That's why I was suggesting if the response be given on the day the House next sits. Yeah? Honorable Mutunga. No, you see, Honorable Amunyenyi, you cannot now be able. Let's just clear this one so that. No, but you cannot. We can't have. No, help who now? You know, I don't require any help at this time myself. Honorable. Honorable Amunyenyi, you say you saw.
Honorable Speaker, the chairman will get in touch with the relevant ministry to find out what can be done, because you know foot and mouth disease is one of the notifiable diseases. Being notifiable means that it's very dangerous and it spreads very fast. So the ministry must do something about this. Although it all boils back to the support to the ministry, and especially support to Kevavapi. So we shall have a statement on what can be done urgently, because we need disease-free environment where we can keep our animals.
Honorable Mutunga, can we suggest to you that you actually get a copy of this request for statement and deliver it to the ministry?
Yes,
even as we await the other normal parliamentary processes.
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
Because you appear to appreciate the dangers posed by the spread.
I do understand the situation, Honorable Speaker, and it's not only foot and mouth disease. Even lumpy skin disease is also an outbreak, and there's another one called contagious caprine pleuropneumonia. So we have a serious problem in this country.
Absolutely. Honorable Bukose, what's your intervention?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Without anticipating what the Mutunga and team will be able to say, Honorable Speaker, 2 days ago I confronted the chairman here because the issue of foot and mouth, the country has not had vaccine for the last 1 year. I don't know whether they have a new information on whether there is any availability of the vaccine, because I think that's the direction that we are all seeking, and that's what the farmers want, because it is a serious thing, and many of the farmers actually are approaching us as their representatives, asking us what is it that is going to be done. Because when Mutunga tells us you are going to give a statement in 2 weeks, this problem has been there for the last 1 year. So what is it that the interventions that are already in place? That's what we are interested in, not giving us a statement in 2 weeks that does not have any bearing.
So when would you wanted to come on Sunday?
No, we just, because this is a problem they have had for the last close to 1 year. And you can see them 2 years, and you can see the member is agreeing with me. What we want is, what has the government done, or is there any new development? Because we confronted the chairman here, and the chairman was telling us, as per now, there is no vaccine. So when Mutunga gives that he is going to give a response in 2 weeks' time, is there anything new development? Because as far as we know, there is no vaccine.
No. Honorable Bukosa, you are wrong. He is not. You have said the government has told you, but the government is not here. The Honorable Mutunga is not the government. In fact, he cannot even speak on behalf of it. So, if you have been told by the chairman then the chairman come and confirm that, because the government is not here. No, don't raise your hand up. If you don't know the way we work here, it's not by raising hands up. This is, honourable members, let's not go to that method we see in county assemblies where people just speak because it's fashionable to open mouths and say something. So don't just throw up your hands. These interventions, are they on anything? On foot and mouth? Now, whose foot? Honorable Fatuma Gedi.
Mr. Speaker, I want to report progress and invite the member, Honorable Kalicha and Honorable Kamket, on Tuesday. And the CS will come to the committee. Since
left.
they're in the House.
They have left. At least the member for Tieti, because he's of some interesting height, I noticed him as he walked out.
And any other member?
Honorable Wario Gufu Kalicha. You've heard that now.
Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday.
And
what time?
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
We will get an invitation from the club.
Tell the member for Tieti to also appear, and if he fails, to forever shut his mouth about those issues, about rustling and and roadblocks and the rest. It's too much. Honorable Rachel Nyamai, you said about foot and mouth.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Where I come from, the community members are not able to tell whether what the animals are suffering from is foot and mouth or another bacterial viral infection. But what has been reported to our offices is that animals have symptoms that have not been very common within the area of Ukambani where I come from. There are blisters in the mouth and also in the foot. So I would like to say that this is a matter of importance that needs to be taken seriously, bearing in mind that these animals are sharing water points with animals and also with wildlife, and this is a matter that is likely to spread beyond domestic also to wild animals. So I would like to say to the chair that let this matter be taken seriously. There before we used to have vaccination being coordinated by national government. So it is important that they also support, especially concerning the foot and mouth issue, that they support county governments. There is a problem, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
By the way, is there a vice chair of that committee? Does that committee have a vice chair? Some of these chairs and vice chairs, they have already taken leave. They've gone on recess. Who is the vice chair of that committee? It certainly is not Mr. Wanyonyi, no, not him. Who is the vice chair of that committee? Who? Oh, Catherine Waruguru. Is she aware that she is the vice chair? I mean, surely, it's very surprising. But honestly, honourable members, we now, from here, I'm able to tell which chair comes to the House. Even those who sit at the back, where it is not very easy to be noticed. Like now, my good friend, the Honorable Pio and I, the chair of public accounts, has resorted to sitting right at the back. I don't know why. I can see you. But honestly, honorable members, even if we discuss this matter, and we're discussing with, it's just to discuss that which you cannot, there's no answer. You just want to talk because it is fashionable to talk. You're becoming, honorable members, without moving a motion. You should have brought a motion to adjourn the House so as you can discuss whatever. Those things you discuss without any resolutions. So, I mean, this House cannot, that's operating in vain, honorable members. Unless Honorable Mutunga wants to, if you have new information, Honorable Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we are sure that something is happening. What we will need to do is to find out exactly what is happening at the ministry and at the Kebavapi itself. Not that I've getting different information, but notifiable diseases, Honorable Speaker, cannot be watched as they ravage our animals. I know something is happening. So we will get the correct report in the shortest time possible and circulate to the members.
You see, Honorable Mutunga, even if something is happening, because we don't know what is happening, given what the Honorable Kago has said and what Honorable Rachel Nyamai has said, I think you can see the urgency in this matter. But now, without the chair of the committee there, the vice chair, now all we know from you, Honorable Mutunga, is that something is happening. We don't know whether it's happening behind the trees, in the oceans. Member for Kwanza, I know you have a lot of interest in agriculture, but
Mr. Speaker, I think what I would suggest we do, this is a very serious case, and the way Honorable Kako has mentioned, it's very serious. So I think what you can do, Mr. Speaker, we have a committee. Clerk of the Committee of Agriculture, and I see here. So I think the House, you can direct that the committee clerk move fast, because in the absence of the chairman and the vice chairman, the clerks are there. If they can now move fast, because this is an emergency. And I can see if it is happening in Machakos, it's happening in Central, and I've also had cases this afternoon that is also happening in Western Kenya. So I suggest that we take immediate step to call the clerk of the committee to move fast with the ministry so that you can be able to get some money.
Okay. Because you are wrong. Yes. We don't operate that way as Parliament. Those clerks of committees give information to the clerk of the National Assembly. The letters cannot be signed by everybody who has just joined the Parliamentary Service Commission and starts writing letters all over the country. So you see, Honorable Wanyonyi, I've always encouraged you to know where your colleagues come from. The Honorable Rachel Nyamai is member for Kitui South, not Machakos. I'm sure she knows you are the member for Kwanza in Trans Nzoia County. So, but it's good to know. It's good that we know where everybody comes from. Anyhow, Honorable Wanyonyi, your point is noted. The clerk, the deputy clerk, is here and has handled the matter. She is going to write immediately to the relevant ministry. Can we deal with something else? Not about foot and mouth now. Honorable Chachu, your intervention is about foot and mouth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I really wanted to make a statement on this because, Mr. Speaker, this is an emergency. It's about the life and death of our livestock. Mr. Speaker, sir, and it's happening all over the country, just not in central part of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, this House have powers. Mr. Speaker, could you command that even though we have been on recess for a couple of days, that committee effectively takes charge and something is done, so that by the time we are back from recess, there's a report that's going to be given to this House to allay the fears of Kenyans that our livestock might perish. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That's exactly what we did. Honorable Wandai.
The Speaker, I wanted to weigh in on this matter. Mr. Speaker, it must be understood clearly that the matter that has been raised by Honorable Kago is not a laughing matter. Mr. Speaker, foot and mouth disease is a highly contagious viral disease for livestock. It's not just for cows or cattle, for sheep, goats, what have you. And it has got no boundary. It can spread like bushfire. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, even
that is contained in this statement.
Therefore, even as we contemplate taking the action we are contemplating taking, it's important to also understand where the national government and the county governments come in. Because as a speaker, this cannot be left to the county of Kitui, for instance, or the county of Kiambu, where Ms. Honorable Kago comes from. It's a serious matter of national importance that needs to be addressed very, very seriously by the ministry concerned. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Hello, members. I think member for Kimilili also wants to say how contagious it is.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you. This is a very important matter, and this House cannot be held at ransom because the chair or the vice chair is not there. I think, Honorable Speaker, you need to issue the direction. Wherever they are, they should be communicated to. We need to take action so that we arrest this situation, Honorable Speaker, before it's out of hand. Doesn't matter whether the chair is available or not. He will get the communication from the chair and we will move forward. Thank you.
They will get communication from the clerk of the National Assembly, not from the chair. Chairs don't write letters. You see, this is why I've always encouraged members to look at their standing orders more regularly. You do not. Now, the member for Mosob, who seems to suggest that there is some voodoo medicine. Member for Mosob.
Mr. Speaker, while I appreciate the concerns expressed by my colleagues, it is true the virus, or actually the vaccine, is not within, but to us, about 1 month ago, it affected our animals in our area. But we also have the African way of dealing with it. Nikupea ng'ombe busa. Yeah, that is the best way. Nakupeleka ng'ombe kwa mtoni asubuhi. That is the best way, Mr. Speaker, and that is how we treated ours. I'm talking from the experience, kwa sababu hata wangu, that is the best way, and they are alive.
So now, you see now, I think the Honorable Kevin Wanyonyi then should have dealt with that matter very easily, because what you mentioned is, I know, is very readily available.
Point of order.
Member Voyata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just concerned because we have the leader of government business and he's sitting pretty. Even if the chair for agriculture is not here, surely the government is here, Mr. Speaker. So that disease, Mr. Speaker, I tried to talk to my county vet officer. The drugs are not available. You can't buy them even from agrovets. And the government leader of government majority is just sitting pretty, Mr. Speaker. Surely we would have had a statement from the leader of government business here, Mr. Speaker. Majority, Mr. Speaker, government majority.
You see, the statement was, the request was made just now, and we have given directions that that the clerk do write to the ministry concerned, so that the reply will be awaited. They will be instructed that we need the response in the shortest period possible. If the Honorable Kago had actually come by way of a question by private notice, but no, we can't. Traditional liquor is being proposed as a cure.
Even mine, they were affected, but they are okay.
No, this is what I keep telling you, Honourable members. A request for a statement, now you have turned it into a debate. But those who want to give traditional liquor will do it, but let's go to the next order.
Order number 8, the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2021, second reading.
The Chairman, Budget and Appropriations Committee.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2021 be read a second time. Honorable Speaker, the bill seeks to provide for the sharing of revenue raised nationally between the national government and the county government for the financial year 2021-2022 in accordance with Article 202, 203, 204 218 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, the enactment of the Division of Revenue Bill 2021 is critical in paving way for the introduction of the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2021, which will provide for the sharing of revenue raised nationally among county governments, and thus forming the basis of the preparation of the annual budget estimate for the 47 county governments. Honorable Speaker, at this juncture, I wish to highlight the provisions under the Division of Revenue Bill 2021 are in line with the House resolution on the budget policy statement and the debt management strategy for the 2021-22 and the medium term. Honorable Speaker, this is in accordance with the provisions of Standing Order 232.8a. Honorable Speaker, I just want to give a general overview of the division of Division of Revenue Bill 2021. Honorable Speaker, the revenue shared is calculated on the basis of the most recent audited accounts of revenue received as approved by the National Assembly, and is distributed equitably between the two levels of government, thus then shared among counties based on the third basis formula for sharing revenue approved by Parliament under Article 217 of the Constitution. The projected revenue collection for the financial year 2021-2022 is estimated at Kenya shilling 1.77562 trillion shillings. The amount is shared between the national government, county government, and the equalization fund as follows. 1. The national government at Kenya shilling 1.398 trillion shillings. The county government at Kenya shilling 370 billion shillings. And 3, the equalization fund at 6.8 billion shillings. The allocations, of course, Mr. Speaker, now to the county governments. The Division of Revenue 2021, the Division of Revenue Bill 2021 seeks to allocate Kenya shilling 409.8 billion shillings to county governments for the financial year 2021-2022, based on the last audited and approved revenue for the financial year 2016-2017, worth Kenya shilling 1.358 trillion shillings. This, Mr. Speaker, represents a Kenya shilling 38.3 billion shilling, or 10% increment in resource allocation to the county, and is broken down as follows. 1, the equitable share, worth 370 billion shillings. And the equitable share of revenue takes into account the fiscal framework, Mr. Speaker, set out in the BPS, which of course was approved by this Parliament. This is further shared among counties based on the third formula for sharing revenue approved by Parliament under Article 217 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, 2, we have the conditional allocation of grants amounting to 7.5 billion shillings. And the allocations are as follows. 1, the 7.2 billion shillings for leasing of medical equipment, which of course is a grant that was initiated in 2015-2016 financial year. The second one is a 332 million shillings to supplement county allocations for construction of county headquarters, that is in Isiolo, Lamu, Nyandarua, Tana River, Tharaka Nithi, which at the inception didn't have county headquarters. Mr. Speaker, the third one is additional conditional grants from proceeds of loans and grants by the development partners amounting to 32.2 billion shillings. And it is spread across 12 agencies. Mr. Speaker, as attached with the statement that I've already tabled, I will not go through them, but one thing is clear: these are grants to assist in urban development, in rural development, and in all parts of this country. Honorable Speaker, in line with Article 202.2, the Constitution, the national government has been allocating additional conditional allocations to the county governments from the national government share of revenue raised nationally. However, and I would really want members to note this, however, in the financial year 2021-2022, there seems to be a policy shift from a past practice. Honorable Speaker, in a meeting called IBEC, that is Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, chaired by the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, together, of course, with the membership of all governors and CECs in charge of finance, they agreed on the following. The Division of Revenue Bill 2021 seeks to convert to equitable share status most of the previously allocated conditional grants from national government equitable share worth 17.02 billion shillings. These include: 1, the allocation from fuel levy fund worth 9.4 billion shillings, or 15% of the roads maintenance fuel levy meant for maintenance of county roads as published by the Kenya Roads Board Act 1999. The conversion should, however, be undertaken in line with provisions of Article 206 of the Constitution and defined as revenue. Honorable Speaker, the second one is compensation for user fees foregone, that is 900 million shillings, to compensate public dispensaries and health centers for lost revenue or abolishment of user fees. This, Mr. Speaker, was meant to cushion and ensure sustainable government policy of not charging user fees in public health facilities. This now has been converted to equal shareable revenue. The third one, Mr. Speaker, is on the level 5 hospitals. The Kenya shilling 4.3 billion shillings, and it was going to 5 level 5 hospitals, Honorable Speaker. In the wisdom of that summit, they decided that the other counties have become of age, and they have also their own level 5 hospitals, and they decided now it will be a shareable revenue across the entire country. However, Mr. Speaker, I think it's a high time that these regional blocks, if they feel or they deem it fit, to make sure that they also come together. If they feel that there is a hospital, for example, where I come from in Nyeri, if they feel that they have patients coming from outside the Nyeri County, it is now the responsibility of the economic bloc to sit down, agree on what they can be able to do to support or supplement what the Nyeri County government will be giving to the Nyeri provincial hospital. And they are all over the country, Mr. Speaker. The fourth one is the rehabilitation of the youth polytechnics at 2 billion shillings. It was actually introduced in the financial year 2017-2018, aimed to enhance access to quality and relevant skills training to youth across the counties. Finally, Honorable Speaker, we want to note and maybe remind the Senate that the issue of accountability has not been forthcoming, and especially from the county level. In fact, Mr. Speaker, is a challenge that we are throwing to the senators. Instead of the many instances that we have seen them interrogating parastatals and other agencies, national government agencies, it's a high time now we see the county government, the senators interrogating county funds, and especially mostly even the donor-funded projects. Honorable Speaker, there is also some tendency of some county governments relying so much on these donor-funded projects, Mr. Speaker. And some of them have dried up. There is like KUSAP, the Kenya Urban Support Program. The taps have ran dry. And of course, it was doing roads, it was doing health, it was doing quite a number of projects in urban areas. But the taps have dried. So it's a high time that the county government should also try as much as possible, raise their own revenue as opposed to relying on the donor funding. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the bill introduces also 4 new additional conditional allocations from proceeds from development partners, and these are the following. 1, the emergency locust response project, which there is an allocation of 800 million shillings, is being financed by the World Bank. And it, of course, is in response to the threat to livelihood by the desert locust. Of course, this is a seasonal project, Mr. Speaker, until, of course, the locusts are eradicated. The second one is on the UNFPA, that's the 9th country program implementation. That is about 73 million shillings intended to address the national priorities under the 3rd Kenya medium plan, which is also under the Big Four. The 3rd one is the Kenya Informal Settlement Improvement Project, Kenya shilling 2.8 billion shillings funded by the World Bank. The 4th one, Mr. Speaker, is a primary health care in devolved context at a cost of 701 million shillings, a grant from the Danish International Development Program. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the international, the IDA, Kenya Devolution Support Program, Level 4 grant was 4.6 billion shillings. And Mr. Speaker, it's important to underscore this grant because this grant is based on the fiscal prudence of which counties. The counties that have better fiscal prudence get this fund. And it is actually good because it is encouraging counties to also compete amongst themselves. Honorable Speaker, the committee made a few observations, which I'm going to highlight a few of them. The first one, Honorable Speaker, that the conversion of the allocation to county government from the fuel levy, 15% of Kenya shilling, 9.4 billion shillings, to us is also a contravention of the statute establishing the fund and whose intention was to ring-fence the critical financing for roads establishment or maintenance by both national and county government. However, Mr. Speaker, the counties also have become of age. The county chiefs are also now responsible enough that we don't even have to tell them that this money is for a particular project. They also have to be responsible that if funds are sent to them for roads, that money should purely go for roads. But it is in their discretion now. If they feel that their priority is paying salaries, of course, there are those who are going to do that, but they should know that there is also a cap on how much they should spend on salaries. It is calling for fiscal prudence. Mr. Speaker, we also have a concern that there is inability to oversight use of the conditional grants allocated to counties. And conversion, Mr. Speaker, of the conditional grants to equitable share will not address this problem. Mr. Speaker, we have had in the past, including the county where the former majority leader comes from, whereby there was a big issue on some conditional grants being diverted to do other things. Mr. Speaker, it's a huge issue, and we also want to tell and ask the senators that they should focus on their not just legislative work, but the oversight role. Mr. Speaker, I haven't seen the serious senators working, and especially on these conditional grants and actually interrogating. We want to see them more in the counties. Mr. Speaker, I'm hoping and looking forward that the seats reserved, for senators in the county assemblies, and especially when they are doing their budgets, we want to see them occupied by the senators. Mr. Speaker, it is also important to note that there has been an ongoing practice by county governments of utilizing conditional grants for purpose other than that is stipulated under the law, which is, of course, in total disregard of the Division of Revenue Act and the County Allocation of Revenue Act, and should be investigated. Honorable Speaker, conversion of the health-related conditional grants to equitable share without prior tabling of the report also indicate the extent of development of county-related indicating the extent of the development of county-related health institutions could lead to health burden to affected county governments during a pandemic period and affect the service delivery. Honorable Speaker, given the revenue shared, our projections, Mr. Speaker, it creates a physical risk that could necessitate borrowing, which the national government budget implementation process will be negatively affected. Ideally, any revenue shortfall should be shared equitably between the national and county governments. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude now, Mr. Speaker, we made these recommendations. Having considered the above matters, the committee recommends that this House approves the Division of Revenue Bill 2021 specified as follows. 1, the national government equitable share worth Kenya shilling 1.398 trillion. 2, the county government equitable share worth 370 billion. 3, the equalization fund worth 6.8 billion shillings. The government of Kenya conditional allocation worth 7.5 billion shillings, and additional conditional allocation from proceeds of loans and grants by development partner worth Kenya shilling 32.34 billion shillings. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the committee recommends to this House that the Division of Revenue Bill 2021 be read a second time. Honorable Speaker, with those very many and few remarks, I'd want to request the Leader of the Minority Party to second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Mbandi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in trying to comply with Article 217 and 218 of the Constitution, and the people of Kenya decided to create those articles to help divide revenue between the two levels of government, the national and the county governments. Mr. Speaker, in the year 2021-2022, as the chair of the committee who has moved the motion has just ably put it, the government is projecting to collect upwards of 1,775 billion shillings. Mr. Speaker, out of this, 370 will go to counties as shareable revenue, and of course 6.8 is going to equalization fund. The first question one would want to ask is, every year we vote for equalization fund, Mr. Speaker, but it has never been actualized. And so this committee is also calling upon the Treasury CS, who is responsible for the administration and management of this fund, to make sure that those issues that have not been resolved around the equalization fund are quickly addressed, because this is a fund that has a sunset clause. And Mr. Speaker, if BBI bill was not there, we would have barely 9 years to the end of the life of this fund. So something needs to be done. Mr. Speaker, the shareable revenue that goes to national government is 1,358 billion. Mr. Speaker, looking at the shareable revenue that is going to counties, one would compared to the constitutional provision of the last audited and approved revenue based on the last audited and approved accounts, which is the year ending 2016, is 27%. But then, Mr. Speaker, that is why I think BBI has come in handy, because we keep on referring to historical figures, the historical data of 2015-2016, when we already have audited accounts for 2018-2019, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, something else that needs to be mentioned is that, yes, the chair has actually alluded to it, that we have the executive as in agreement with the county governments to convert and commute funds that were originally or in the previous years treated as conditional grants to shareable revenue. And I think this is in realization that the government cannot collect enough revenue to meet the enhanced revenue request. But Mr. Speaker, the question then therefore begs, which needs to be addressed, is when you convert the road maintenance levy of 9.4 billion, which is the 15% of the levy, going to counties, and this money has been religiously going to counties, when you convert it to shareable revenue, you are giving counties a blank check to use it as they so wish. And therefore, the net effect is that our roads may have a challenge in being maintained. How sure are we that county governments are going to be responsible enough that the county assemblies, in conjunction with the county executive, are going to do their budget in a smart way to ensure that this money actually goes towards the maintenance of our roads? And again, there is a law in place which regulates the usage of this fund. This was a fund that was specifically created to maintain roads. Now, when you make it a shareable revenue, you run the risk of having money spent outside the legal statutes. And Mr. Speaker, that is a concern that needs to be addressed. Mr. Speaker, something else that I think we need to talk about is the projection of revenue. Mr. Speaker, the government is projecting to collect 1.7756 trillion. How realistic is that? That is a question that the Budget and Appropriations Committee is concerned about. Chances are that we are not likely to collect beyond 1.5 trillion this financial year. Then what that means is that there will be a shortfall of over 200 billion shillings. And then that will be shouldered by the national government, which is remaining with 1.39 trillion. If you take into consideration the possible revenue shortfall, then you are going to collect not more than 1.1 trillion. That is the amount that we are going to spend in paying the loans and paying the interest on loans and meeting all consolidated fund services requests, which, Mr. Speaker, we all know is not cheap now. And again, we are going to pay salaries. By the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, chances are very high, and I've always said it, that we will end up borrowing money to meet recurrent expenditure. And Mr. Speaker, that is not very good for this country. This is something we have talked about and we must repeat. There is need to have funds, there's need for the executive, and more particularly the Treasury, which has been tasked with the responsibility of managing our economy, to ensure that economic growth is stimulated. And this you can only do by focusing a lot more on the most critical sectors of our economy. The SMEs has been talked about, but we also need to stimulate demand. We need to have money put into economic stimulus projects, money that would go to people who would spend it. If you want to stimulate economic growth, take money to those who want the money to spend, not people who will receive money and keep it. So we need to take money to the grassroots. That is why I support the initiative of putting money to those projects that go to the rural areas. And that is why I don't understand why the Treasury has a problem with the national government's Constituency Development Fund. In fact, we should have more stimulus packages going directly to the grassroots to stimulate growth. If counties were utilizing the resources effectively, we would have a more invigorated economic activities in the villages, and this would have helped us realize more revenue. But we know what is happening in our counties, and I think something needs to be done in terms of holding the county managers to account. Mr. Speaker, something that I want to also talk about is with regards to the government's borrowing strategy. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure this House is aware of reports that have come out of the media that Kenya government is planning to borrow more Eurobonds, or to get Eurobond loans, that they are going to commercial market to borrow money. I want to say this as a member of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, that if that is the case, if that is not an untrue story, then it would be unfortunate, because the information we have, and which is on record from the Treasury, is that they are not likely to borrow commercial loans. That is not in the plan. That the country, our country, is planning to borrow money from the World Bank, IMF, African Development Bank, and those other concessionary loans. There is a plan to borrow 78 billion from IMF at zero interest rates and with a very considerate terms of repayment, going for 30 years. We have World Bank to loan this country 85 billion. These are the information provided by the CS. 85 billion at 1.4% interest rates. There is African Development Bank, which is likely to give this country 22 billion shillings, and many others. So, Mr. Speaker, if it is true that the government is planning to borrow money through Eurobonds, then they are concealing information from us, which would be very interesting. I don't expect the executive to conceal information from the Budget and Appropriations Committee. And I think when we next meet the CS Treasury, which is possibly next week, I am sure the committee will take him to task about this report. And I just pray that the report is fake news. Because, Mr. Speaker, how can a CS Treasury come before the Budget and Appropriations Committee and give wrong information about borrowing strategy? Mr. Speaker, I want to again repeat here as I conclude that much as we want to agree with this division of revenue, and I support it fully, we need to have more money to the grassroots. But something that needs to be repeated and repeated 1,000 times for those who are responsible to listen is the counties, the mismanagement of resources in this country is costing the country big time. I know there is also mismanagement at the national level. We are seeing what is happening with KEMSA. I want to repeat it again. Whereas someone, a lady, you look at that lady and you really wonder whether that lady can even move close to where a contract of 7 billion is being discussed. And the lady has no knowledge of even the bank accounts for the company. But I don't want to go there. Mr. Speaker, if we want to move forward as a country, corruption must be condemned at whatever level. But the corruption at the counties is costing this country also big time, because the money that is going to counties could help this country come out of the economic mess we are in. Because the moment you put money at the grassroots, Mr. Speaker, and have our young people who are very energetic. Mr. Speaker, Kenya is number 48 in the world out of 193 countries recognized by UN in terms of population. But we are number 29 in terms of percentage of youthful population. That tells you clearly how exposed this country is. If we engage the youth effectively and put money in their hands, these are people who will definitely have increased expenditure because they need the money to spend. They are not people who would even keep the money. They will spend it whether they are spending on Bosa, Changa, but the money will circulate in the economy. The net effect of that is economic growth. But you see, when you have a few individuals in the counties misappropriating the resources, putting up hotels which have no people even to sleep in, because even COVID does not allow us to sleep in those hotels. So the hotels become huge white elephant projects everywhere. People have huge houses which they don't even need in the villages. They put up huge houses out of public resources, money that is supposed to help our youth come out of poverty. Mr. Speaker, this is a crime that I think is even bad in the eyes of God. And I want to ask those people who are managing our resources at that level, please change your habit. But those who are responsible for oversighting, we have personally, I think, and many of my colleagues, we have given up on the county assemblies. Because what you see happening in those county assemblies don't inspire any confidence. But the Senate needs to come in and fill in the gap where county assemblies should have been the ones taking the lead. I see attention shifted almost entirely to the Senate. But the truth of the matter is that the people who have the, let me say, the advantage to continuously and on daily basis monitor what is going on in the counties is the members of our county assemblies. So, Mr. Speaker, members of our county assemblies going forward, please take your responsibilities very seriously. And if Kenyans have been electing people without capacity, it is high time that we thought about the people we vote to become members of county assembly. We don't need these people who are bag carriers, flower girls. We need serious people to be in those county assemblies. Even the nomination, I've said it before. There's a time I said it and I almost faced riot and demonstration from incited ladies that I said that they have not gone to school. What I'm saying is we need basic education for these people, whether you are nominated or elected. I know even National Assembly here, we don't have that minimum academic qualification. It should be there. Those of us who have not got basic degree, please, you have a few more months. get it so that 2022 we have people who can oversight. You cannot have a standard 8 dropout, and because you are too popular in your place, oversighting a professor. That is why a professor will come to you and look at you and feel that you're wasting his time and address you with a condescending attitude because you have no capacity to oversight. So I just want to plead with those of us who still want to represent people that if you don't have that minimum qualification, I don't think this House will be willing to extend it further. We extended it to 2022, and I think we should be reluctant this time to extend that minimum academic qualification requirement. Mr. Speaker, with those remarks, I want to second and I support the division of revenue.
Well, I think the Honorable John Bandi touched a raw nerve, which I think, as you know, Honorable John Bandi is, apart from appearing in the Constitution, is also anchored in Section 22 of the Elections Act. Anyhow, I propose the question, which is that the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2021, be now read a second time. Honorable Duale. No? Is it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Division of Revenue Bill proposes 370 billion as the equitable share, and that translates to about 27.3% of the 2016-2017 audited and approved by the National Assembly accounts. And that time, the audited account was 1.357 trillion. Mr. Speaker, cumulatively, the county governments are getting 409 billion. And they comprise of the following: the equitable share of 370 billion, the conditional allocation from the share national government revenue of about 7.53 billion, and the conditional allocation from proceeds of loans and grants by development partners of about 32 billion. That gives the county government 409 billion. But Mr. Speaker, that is what they are getting. But there are a number of salient issues in this Division of Revenue Bill and in overall county financial management. To start with, Mr. Speaker, there is no substantial increase to counties. And I say this without fear of contradiction. What this bill has just done is to convert the 4 existing conditional grants to counties into unconditional grants by allocating to the respective amounts totaling to about 17.4 billion in this current financial year. Which ones are these, Mr. Speaker? This is the road maintenance levy. This is the level 5 hospital. This is the compensation for the user fees foregone. And this is the money that is supposed to go to rehabilitate the village polytechnics. So if you look at that, there is no substantial increase that has been given to counties. And also because the bill has just converted conditional grants into. What is the side effect? What is the implication of doing that? The Speaker, the implication of doing that is just to make sure, and it's going to affect counties, that a number of projects will remain incomplete and they will stall. The second salient and important point, Mr. Speaker, I need to raise is there is lack of criteria for conditional allocation to counties. And this House has been passing the division of revenue. This is the 8th year. But there is no particular criteria on how the allocation, the conditional allocations to counties is done. For example, if you look at the Division of Revenue Bill 2020, it proposes to allocate roughly about 7.2 billion for the leasing of equipment and another 32 billion, another 3.2 billion, no, 332 million for the construction of headquarters in Isiolo, in Tana River, in Tharaka Nithi, in Nyandarua, and in Lamu. Mr. Speaker, it is very sad and very strange that there is no policy criteria in identifying these counties. And what happens? If this continue, then there will be serious marginalization of some counties. So this person who is saying Isiolo must be funded to build its own county headquarters, Nyandarua must be funded, Thika, Tana River must be funded, Lamu must be funded. What criteria are you using? Why are you denying? Why not fund Kiambu? Why not fund Garissa? Why not fund Marsabit? So absolutely there is no policy criteria. And this must be, and I think the budget committee has been giving, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't know why people say budget. I have just read the report, and the budget committee.
Well, there's a point of order from Honorable Judge Uganya.
Mr. Speaker, I want to tell the former majority leader that Marsabit County, with every leadership of Kuria Atani, one of the governor, built the county government offices and the county assembly. We don't need that fund.
That appears like a point of information.
Mr. Speaker, he just wants to, the member wants just to tell us that.
Honorable Kioni, what is your?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to let the former leader of majority to know that the county headquarters for Nyandarua was taken by Laikipia. And he is totally out of order to mislead the House of the Nation that there was no policy. The policy was that Nyandarua, having lost its county headquarters to Laikipia, and any county that did not have a county headquarters done by the former national government required to have been provided with a county headquarters. And this has been in the budget for the last 8 years. I don't know why he's complaining about it now.
Mr. Speaker, you know, I don't want to go into village politics. If your headquarters has been built,
the chair budget wants to maybe perhaps.
I just only use.
Raise the issue. The Honorable Duale is raising the point of policy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Honorable Kadini.
Honorable
Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. I want to clarify because, Honorable Speaker, the former majority leader said that there is no criteria. But I want to clearly state, even in our statement, that we have said that the ones who have been identified are the ones who did not inherit adequate facilities from the defunct local authorities. So it's specifically for the ones who did not inherit 5 of them. And that is, so there is a criteria, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, if you listen to all my colleagues, what I am saying is 8 years down the line, after the implementation of devolved system of government, there must be a criteria and a policy to identify which county requires extra resources, whether the previous defunct county councils did not deliver infrastructure, whether you have built it. If you have built an Honorable Chachu, I think what you wanted to do was that you have a county headquarters. I was just giving an example. I'm saying only that. But Mr. Speaker, I still stand that there is no criteria, policy. But Mr. Speaker, let me go because I'm losing my time. The next item, Mr. Speaker, and I have an issue with, is this animal called the leasing of medical equipment. Mr. Speaker, there must be a justification that this significant increase, if you look at this year, Mr. Speaker, previously in the last financial year, this amount was at 6.2 billion in the financial year 2020-2021. But if you look at what has been allocated in 2021-2022, the Speaker, is 7.2. There's an increase in 1 billion plus. So, Speaker, there must be a justification. You remember the mystery behind the leasing of equipment. In some of our counties, those equipments are not even working. And those equipments are not there. The personnel is not there. And we really ask, even the committee of this House, to do an audit. I mean, the Senate has failed. They had a report. But it must have an audit, and this still, we are 7 years down the line. Mr. Speaker, if you may ask me, this is a criminal enterprise shrouded in an opaque procurement process. The project is associated, Mr. Speaker, with high operational cost on consumable, on reagents. You know, if you look at the reagents and inadequate and fluctuating electricity challenges, if you go to the far-flung counties like Isiolo, Marsabit, Garissa, these equipments are not working, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there's also increasingly high level of pending bills and increasingly high expenditure on personal emolument. And Mr. Speaker, the PFM Act is very, very clear. And let me start with the expenditure on personal, on salaries. Counties continue to spend a significant share of their allocation on personal emolument, contrary to the PFM Act, Mr. Speaker. Regulation 25(1)B of the PFM, County Government Regulations 2015, sets at, I think, 35% of the county's total expenditure, Mr. Speaker. Today, and quoting a report from the Controller of Budget, they are at 44.8%. Mr. Speaker, the Controller of Budget is supposed to crack the whip. She is not doing it. She is bringing a report to this House saying counties are spending 44.2% on salaries. Mr. Speaker, the essence of devolution was to bring service to our people: health, water, education, roads. Mr. Speaker, this high level.
Okay, don't make the case. I'll give you your 2 minutes. I'll give you extra 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, these spending bills affect our economy. And Mr. Speaker, there's high corruption. Governors are asking for close to 20% to be paid in advance for them to pay pending bills, particularly for the pending bills of the previous of their predecessors. Mr. Speaker, my submission, as I support this bill, I have the following submissions to make. To achieve even the BBI proposal of at least 35% nationally, raising the amount to counties, Mr. Speaker, functions must be domiciled. There are functions that are ought to be in the counties, mainly in the agriculture and health sector, which still are with the national government. Speaker, even as we give them 35%, we are not saying which functions are going to follow. We must first discuss the functions, then go to the increment. The Speaker, the national government should also guarantee counties who have utilized the medical equipment facilities for the project duration of 7 years, that these contracts must be relooked at. The Speaker, the government must address the ballooning wage bill at the counties. The pending bills at the counties have led to deterioration of financial positions in our businesses, and that must be relooked at. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the CS, National Treasury and Planning should bring into this House a policy framework to guide conditional allocation. I'm sitting next to the former chair of budget and the current chair of budget. We said it in subsequent years, the CS must bring a policy to guide conditional allocations, conditional grants to counties. Money is being given to counties with no criteria, with no policy. Donor funded some of them. So, Speaker, he has no powers to do that when it comes to loans and grants from development partners. And if he does this, this will reduce the use of conditional allocation as a tool to marginalize certain parts of this country. I support.
Honorable Kimunya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the Division of Revenue Bill and thank the committee. They've done a good job within a very short period. And as members will be aware, this bill is required, is a prerequisite, is one of the conditions precedent for the formulation and tabling of the estimates. So we can't do anything until we have passed this law. And to the extent that it still has, because of some advisory that was given, it still has to go to the Senate. I think what I would like to urge members is a straightforward thing. We really don't even want to spend a lot of time on it. if we just focus on the division. We discussed this when we were discussing the budget policy statement. In fact, it was very clearly stated as exactly that once we passed the BPS, the natural progression is the DORB. And it follows in exactly the same figures that we passed. So perhaps we could save ourselves a lot of time as a House by limiting to just a few comments, if any, because it's not the kind of thing we even change. And then Senate will then endorse so that we can go to the county allocation of revenue bill, which is what my predecessor was talking about in terms of, apportioning how much will go to recurrent, how much goes to expenditure. But in the division of revenue bill, we are just doing the vertical division between how much remains in the national and how much goes to the counties. And it's not true to say that the amount indicated here has not increased over last year. I believe last year we appropriated in total about 370 billion, including the conditional grant. Now this year, it's clearly put on the schedule for those who have cared to read that we are actually appropriating 409 billion, which is an extra 30 billion going to the counties over and above what they received last year. So there's actually an increase even after condensing or reformulating the composition of the monies, because it really didn't make sense. And I think this was part of the discussions we had in the pre-budget meeting. It did not make sense to have money for recurrent expenditure for roads being given as conditional grants, yet roads, those same roads are actually devolved. So you devolving, you're giving some money as part of the shareable revenue, then on top of that, you're giving them others as conditional grants through KERA. And yet it's the same money to be used across the same roads. So it's important that we get the counties to budget for their totality of their money, except for the programs that are funded separately through development grants and anything else that the national government will do, which is not on a recurrent nature. Roads will forever be maintained by the counties. So it's something that was foreseen and was included in the schedule among the 14 that were devolved, which is very different from, for example, the medical equipment scheme, which is a temporary measure. Honorable Speaker, I was actually surprised to hear my predecessor talk about the construction of the county headquarters as if it is a preferential grant to some counties to the exclusion of others. And indeed, members may remember at the passage of the 2010 Constitution, and we had a transitional authority that was set up by this House that went around the entire 47 counties to establish their state of readiness to operate as devolved units. And one of the things they do is look at, do they have facilities? Do they have headquarters? And those that were identified as not having headquarters were 5, including Nyandarua. And as the construction started, challenges came in terms of the slow disbursement of funds, issues with contractors, and even as we speak, the Nyandarua County headquarters is still almost on a temporary basis, 8 years into devolution. It was only resuscitated, I think, last year, the construction, because of issues with contractors and all that, following also the slow disbursement. So it's important that people put some of these things into context, because we might be misleading the public and giving the impression that this budget is sending funds to specific areas to the exclusion of all the others. And even all the other donor funded projects, they are itemized here properly, why they are happening, where they are happening. It's not the last to happen. More will happen into the future. Honorable Speaker, I think if you look at these figures here, we are talking of about 30.2 billion percent of being given to the counties when you now compare in terms of as a percentage of 2016, 2017. And without even getting into the debate that we'll be getting on after the 23rd, when we're discussing the BBI report, one can now see, yes, the Constitution requires 15%, but His Excellency the President, in his own wisdom and his own magnanimity, has decided to extend double that amount to the counties because he believes in devolution. But there will come a time when there are some people who don't believe in devolution, and they could stick to 15%. Now, if you divided this amount and gave to the counties, because everyone is saying, yes, we need more money. If we wanted to give 15%, we'd actually be giving counties 200 billion, right? They receive 370, they're still crying for money. We would give them about 200 billion, which is hardly enough to execute the 14 functions that were anticipated they'll be doing when the 15% was put in the Constitution in 2010. And hence the wisdom of locking in this kind of the discretionary giving of money to counties by the president, to lock it into the Constitution as a revision to the Constitution, because the reality has shown that 15% is not enough. It's 200 billion. 15% is not enough. But by moving it to 35%, then the counties can have the predictability. They will have, as they do their county integrated development plans, they will be knowing that, yes, we are working on a certain figure, not less than 400 billion into the future, and be able to even secure their long-term planning, in terms of what roads to do, where to put water, where to what schools, what to do with the nursery school, the polytechnics, and all those things that we expect them to do, including taking care of the youth and the training facilities and the trade industrialization issues that they need to do at that level to spur development that will then kind of create some momentum towards the bigger generation of wider GDP. So, Honorable Speaker, this is really a straightforward figure, straightforward thing. We really don't need to spend a lot of time on it. And I would urge that we pass it with minimal time so that we can be able to get into other issues that we also need to debate as a House, especially given the limited time we have in sitting. Honorable Speaker, I know members have been raising the issue of CDF and delays, and we are all concerned that the flow of funding has not been in tandem with the expectation of members and the commitments that members have at the grassroots. I have personally been engaging with the Treasury, including this morning, and I can report that there's some agreed framework now in terms of the release of money between now and April on a release of 2 billion per week, which means by end of April, we will have released all the 41 billion for this financial year. And then the balance of the arrears will have been released within May and June. We must accept the flow of funds into the Treasury has also not been as good, partly because of COVID, other challenges that have affected revenue generation. But for this week, it's already been released at 2 billion. So we have 28 billion that's already now with the board. No, I'm giving you information that is good for you. So we have...
Honorable Kajwang, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, the leader of majority, yes, is giving us information that is critical, but is touching on very important issues, very sensitive to this House, that by rising on his place to give us that information does not help much. That is the kind of information we want in a written report so that the CS can be held to his undertaking. That if that information is not acted upon in the way the leader of majority is saying, then we have a recourse as a House to hold him responsible through implementation procedure. But by rising, kind of to respond to what I think that is what is doing, to respond to what the member had said, and to quieten, so to speak, the mood of this House is, I think, is to take us out of, I think it is misleading. So whereas that information is good, if it cannot be reduced into a report that we can hold the CS accountable, I think you are just, what is called, we are being softened. No. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I take
Honorable, there's member for Samburu North.
Mr. Speaker, I think I also have a concern on the issue. What is in the public domain among members is that 18 billion shillings, which is arrears for CDF previous years, is eating into the money that is meant for CDF for this financial year. I think that needs also to be clarified. That money that was in arrears should not be part of this financial year.
What is that now? What was out of order?
It's the majority leader is trying to explain the issue of CDF, and what is really disturbing us is the fact that
no, you can be disturbed, but if there's nothing out of order, you just sit quiet and get disturbed. You just continue to be disturbed, Honorable Letuimaga.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I know the Honorable T.J. Kajwang is a seasoned member and knows whatever I'm saying is unanswered. So it's a part of the permanent record of this House. And the same discussion is actually taking place within the Budget Committee. And it's part of the records of the Budget Committee, because we've actually said that that should be captured as part of the proceedings of the Budget Committee for follow-up. So I think just so that we don't get into a debate on CDF, I'm raising the issue of CDF within the framework, within the context of demonstrating what has happened with devolved funds. You know, we are talking of DORA here. The division of revenue is money we are taking to the counties. It's exactly in the same way that we are devolving another 2.5% through CDF, again for operations at the constituency level. And we expect the same veracity and the same issue of oversight on the two funds. But if there's a delay in getting monies to the counties, which has been witnessed because of the challenges we are facing, if there's a delay in CDF, you now have witnessed what happens, so that as part of our oversight into on these monies is really getting the Treasury to ensure that we have more monies going to the counties, to our constituencies, within a timely manner, so that activities don't get jeopardized. And you will see the same thing happening when you go out there in the counties. Small and micro enterprises, which have gotten contracts with the county governments, and some who have been funded by banks through the tender financing. If there's a mismatch between the flow of money, the capital commitment they do, the contracting that they have done with the counties, and the payments by the counties, they are not able to pay the banks. And hence you're getting all these issues surrounding there. So even as we pass this Division of Revenue Bill, I think sitting as member of KBP, I would also want to wish to see that the money actually flows to the counties. The money flows to our constituencies so that activities can take place. Now, as Majority Leader, I also now, on behalf of all of you, or at least the side that I lead, now next time I should also carry John Buddy with me, so that we can tell Treasury that we have 290 members out there who need their CDF funds flowing. But we have a commitment now, and I would wish to believe, and I think has been honored so far, I would hope that we can honor it even more. And if the situation improves, we will try to fast track the disbursement of that money. But at least we have.
Yes, give him back the mic. Give him the mic.
No, thank you. I just wanted to say it's something we'll continue doing, and I will not stop. I'm also affected so that we ensure that your funds flow. Nothing to do with passage of bills here, nothing about pass softening. We have commitments to the people that there is 41 billion that is supposed to go out there to implement primary schools, to do all those things that we are doing. And having the money in Nairobi does not help. The issues in Kibiperi, the issues in Kisii, the issues in all the various areas. So I think that's my commitment to you. I will be doing that as part of my service to you, but not decide to stop soften you. And we also have our CDF committee, which will be doing it. And I know Dr. Pukose will be happy, and now they can go on the recess next week and do something with a little money. But we also need to put some pressure on our board. You know, it's one thing money moving to the treasury, from treasury to the CDF board, and then from CDF board to the constituencies. So it's an integrated thing that we need to work on together. And I agree, we still have some challenges, but we work on it. With those few remarks, I beg to support.
Member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also stand here to support the Division of Revenue Bill.
Just a minute, there's a point of order. Honorable Kanyudia.
Honorable Speaker, we are discussing a very important matter and we are not properly constituted. I don't think we have the numbers.
Can you count?
Wacha hiyo mambo.
Well, honor members, we are only 32. Can you ring the division bell? The Honorable Mutunga is not allowed by our standing orders, having drawn the Speaker's attention to lack of quorum, to leave. He is not allowed to leave the chamber. And I want that part of our standing orders to be implemented at all times. The member who draws the Speaker's attention to lack of quorum cannot leave. And that report in the standing order is very deliberate. Now it is the Honorable Eseli and Honorable Wangwe, now the other whips, or the others have already taken leave.
35. How many minutes? 35. 10 minutes. Alini keka naenda.
Sasa who is supposed to assist the
Hakuna kuongezeka. Hakuna watu. Kama iongezeke. Bwana napata tu same number. Kama kuna wengine wameingia huko. Bado kama 10 more than 10. Iko nimeona sasa hiyo wako 30 tu bado, kwa hiyo wengine wako hapa nyuma, sijui kama wameenda. Fifty. Sasa kuna mtu anataka bilioni ngapi? 17 10 minutes 17:24. Baada ya 5 minutes.
Sekretari hapa ametuma message.
Hapa sioni tukitoboa. Ndio huyu kuna mmoja ameingia. upande. Na upande. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122 31. Na unajua alikuwa 32. La. Yeye ameenda, nani yeye ametoka? Ndio mpaka. Yule ndiye deputy speaker. So sasa ni 30 to 31 to back. Majority leader yuko na the two whips wako. Hai, get 17. Andika tu kwa vizuri. The time being tutaja hiyo. This stands at John till Thursday, sio? 11/03/20 7 p.m. Sio? Hii namba sikuwa nazo. 20 20
tonight on KBC Channel 1.
You only have to ensure that you will leave no stone unturned in demeaning Ashok in the emperor's eyes.
I would like to apologize, Father, if I have let you down in any way.
Son, had I not trusted you, I wouldn't have declared you my successor.
She cannot break open such a heavy door, Mother, not single-handedly. Something is wrong, I don't know what.
More than this, you should worry about what would happen if she gets away and succeeds in reaching Ashok, Dharma, or Bindusar.
On the next episode of
Na wewe kidudu mtu hapo. Umesikia mimi radio? Kila atakayekuja hapa muulize Aisha, muulizeni Aisha. Haya basi, unikome.
Nimechoka kunyanyaswa.
Na kuona ushaanza kumea pembe.
Sitokubali mimi tena. Kuwa mpole nini? Leo ndio wanitambua mimi nilikuwa mumeo, si ndio?
Mume wangu ni shetani tu aliniingia.
Shetani gani?
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
You are not my mother, neither are you my woman. Sawa sawa.
Yes, Julia umesikia? You are not his mother or his woman, so keep off.
Ati men are supposed to be the head of the family, please.
Chabo.
If these are the leaders of tomorrow, then we actually do.
Hey, come on! This can't be our routine. I have to tell you something.
Fine, you can tell me when you're seated.
Kinanjui, what have you done?
Ashitya, can you help out here?
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Like this. Promise me you can keep a secret. I'll not breathe a word. What is it?
Looks like a motor horse. They're not supposed to be real.
His name's Crusoe. He's very friendly.
Percy, Angus. What are you doing in there?
It's some creature with horns.
Crusoe? How'd you grow so fast?
Next on
Welcome to the show. This is Big Man Show on KBC Channel 1.
My name is Valente Mambui. I'm in class 5. Tumeenda FEMA award, tukashinda award. Ndio hii award tulishinda huko FEMA award. Tukaenda Mathare Festival, tukashinda 10K. Na ni kwa sababu ya siza ya goti, kama sio tungeshinda.
I'm going to show you how to make love heart envelopes.
We will be reading from the book Flip Flap Farm Animals.
next on
Nilikuja nikakuwa inakoma, nikakaa inakoma karibu mwezi na kama sijisikii. Kaambia vile nilipona nilikuwa nalishwanga hivi, nilikuwa nashikiliwanga hivi, huku kote kulikuwa kumepasuka.
I had to accept the vitiligo itself because I sat down and saw my grandparents were really using a lot of resources. Some were just after the money.
Cause we're differently abled, differently.
This weekend on KBC.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tutakita mizizi katika shamba la Kidhekani, tujionee uzuri wa teknolojia katika kilimo.
Kitu cha kwanza teknolojia imetusaidia ni maji, pumping. Mimi kama mkulima hii imenisaidia because venye nilikuwa nasema kama nikipanda maharagwe naweza tayarisha shamba mapema, kwa sababu naweza jua ni tarehe ngapi hivi nitapata mvua. Na pia wakati mwingine pia kupanga mavuno, kwa sababu vitu zingine zikinyeshewa kwa shamba inakuwa si nzuri.
Basi ungana nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
Fanya hivi, wewe teremuka tu chini. Hata watu wanangojea unasema unione. Si ninakuona ndio huyu kucha. Kucha ninakuona.
Hii.
Nimekuita mara ngapi Kate? This is the Nissan Note.
Hii ndio motoka.
Not that this is the Nissan Note we are giving out.
Na ni rahisi sana kuwekelea bid. Unaenda kwenye lipa na M-Pesa. Unaweka paybill number 4032353. Kisha unakelea account number ya Nissan Note ni Note, N-O-T-E. Namba ambayo unapenda, labda unapenda 100, labda unapenda 200. Wekelea Note 100, Note 200. Alafu tutakuitisha shilingi 40 peke yake, 40 bob only. Weka pin yako, utakuwa umekelea bid ya hii Nissan Note. Inakungoja wewe mahali popote ulipo. Mimi na mtumishi tutakupea.
Punguza udaku. Wewe ni mwanamme, sio mwanamke. Nini washikashika tu wenyewe?
Pilipili inayokuasha wailiani.
Sasa wewe na sura yako pia inapigwa selfie.
Umeona nani akipiga selfie? Niko natafuta naitwa wa kuku hivi.
Huyu nani huyo ana jina? Yuaitwa Fauzia binti Mohamed na anasema tena panguza hayo maji.
Jua ukipanguza haiwezi kauka ndio.
Maji ya panguzo. Alafu mkuje kwa ofisi ASAP. Unasikia Fasia?
Fauzia.
Whatever man.
Anybody will won't fight you. When they come, they already know. I'll be right beside you, like the wall of Jericho. They don't know, they don't know, they don't know what's going on. Monagiso, my baby boo. I'll be a soldier for you. I'm getting better in Kung Fu. You should know I got it, and you don't need to guide me too. I'll be right beside you in anything that you do. If you ever need saving, I will be running to you, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to.
When I'm looking for trouble, it's cause I know that I got you. Wanting my best, everybody, and it's because of your Kung Fu. And anytime that I'm out of control, you hold me down. You never let go. Munagiso, my baby boo. See all the battles you'll be fighting, and I'll be right there with you. I may be small, but I'm mighty, and I go running for you. And anybody ways happy, yes, don't be you, pull it, I'll be alright. And if I ever need saving, I'll be running to you.
Running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you.
You go there for
anywhere that you go to. You don't need to worry, anything you want.
Sun up to sundown, love you no go round down.
Hey, anytime you call me, baby, I go answer.
Any other brother, baby, you make them run away.
And if you want me coming to you, I go come to you.
Oh, you wanna see me, baby, don't chase me.
Tell me what you want, baby, say I'm not in my mind.
Kuchwa na mwamba
Mungu anijalie maumivu mbali anipitie, maana eleweki haya hayasomeki mapenzi, nami nimpate wa kwangu atulie, mwenyewe tu nijisevie, maana yaeleweki haya yamejaa ufeki mapenzi, na yasiwe ya kupostiana na vikopakopa kwa mitandao, kumbe nachoresha nje nanogesha, chonde asiwe wa kufoka mwisho kaniacha na stressi kibawa deke na kunchekesha, mvua ikinyesha asije ninyanyapa, awe mkweli tu asijongopa, mwezenu kuteswa na kopa, asiwe na mipasho kama tijapopa, tupendane usimteke vipopa, yasiwe yakonde na hopa, kila siku michambo nataka nipende, anipende nami nipende, anipende aninipende, nataka nimupende, nasiwe nataka nipende, anipende nami nipende, anipende aninipende, anipende anyonyeshe upendo mpaka nijisahau. Nasiwe wa kususa tankimwambia katwende tukaoke, asiseme nikaoke mwenyewe na yangu asijeipangusa akili yangu mwisho aikoroge, awe ambo ntakacho nipewe awe yangu medali na kwa kila hali na mali, na nitakesha kwa Mungu nitasali, mabaya simupate awepushe, na kitandani asiwe bonge atamaliza godoro, atulie simalize chocho, simfume usiku akiza totoro, tena asije ninyanyapa, awe mkweli tu asijongopa, mwezenu kuteswa na kopa, asiwe na mipasho kama tijapopa, tupendane usimteke vipopa, yasiwe yakonde na hopa.
Mapenzi ya moyoni mwangu joto baridi, yanapeta kwenye hali kaidi, ndo maana acha mtori nikupe nyama, na kuniumizaga wala mie sizimi, wanipende nidekeze maji, ndo maana chiti kidogo nikupe lana. Oh my, oh na ukinikosa never feel shy, utamna mizuka ya mapenzi haya. Oh no, yeah. Oh my, tena usijaribu minjadai, kunichezea kuniacha hiyo kitu mbaya. Oh no, yeah. See, I got only ask for you, and I wanna put my hands on you. Me, I cannot do anything bad to you, but I can do anything bad for you. This is one number. One number. Oh yeah. This is one number. One number. Oh yeah.
Do me nice, do me good, do me well, judge. Now you are the vibe, then now you be my remedy. Give me good vibes, give me positive energy. Me, I can't ever leave you for nobody. Salema, go back, Alaka, give me some, come and play, just like every day. See, I got only eyes on you, and I wanna put my hands on you. Me, I cannot do anything bad to you, but I can't do anything bad for you. I got only eyes on you, and I wanna put my hands on you. Me, I cannot do anything bad to you, but I can't do anything bad for you.
One number. Oh yeah. This is one number.
Say me how they try focus. Can I you just got my thinking, though, and I know they know what's up. Say if I let me know, what's in your mind, and I will let you know, what's in